Hello everyone. Welcome back to Old Charles, where we explore the fascinating world of coins, currency, and their hidden stories. In today's video, we'll dive deep into the history, details, and value of the Australian 50-cent coin from 1981. Whether you're a collector, an investor, or just curious about the change in your pocket, this episode is packed with everything you need to know. So make sure to watch until the end to understand the value of the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin. We first need to go back in history. Australia first introduced the 50-cent coin in 1966 during the changeover from the old pound system to decimal currency. Interestingly, the very first 50-cent coins were struck in 80% silver, which made them highly desirable. But because the rising price of silver quickly exceeded the face value of the coin, they were withdrawn from circulation almost immediately, making them scarce. Today, in 1969, Australia reintroduced the 50-cent coin, this time with a new dodecagonal shape, meaning it had 12 sides. This unique design was created to avoid confusion with the round 20-cent coin. The new coin was made of copper-nickel, a durable alloy of copper and nickel, and this shape has been in use ever since. Now, fast forward to 1981. This year is quite significant for Australian coinage because the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra couldn't keep up with the high demand for coins. As a result, some of the 1981 dated coins, including the 50-cent piece, were actually minted overseas. Yes, that's right. In 1981, production was outsourced to the Royal Mint in London, as well as the Royal Canadian Mint. This makes the 1981 issue particularly interesting to collectors. The obverse, or the front side of the coin, features a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait was used on Australian coins from 1966 until 1984. Around the portrait are the inscriptions Elizabeth II and Australia. 1981, the reverse, or backside, of the coin carries the Australian coat of arms. This design, created by Stuart Devlin, features the kangaroo and the emu, two iconic animals of Australia, standing on either side of a shield. The shield itself represents the 6 states of Australia, making it a truly national emblem. Above the shield is the Commonwealth Star, symbolizing unity. It's worth noting that the design of the 50-cent coin has remained largely consistent since 1969, except for special commemorative issues that Australia has released over the years. Now, let's talk about the mintage. In 1981, over 20 million 50-cent coins were produced. Because of this high mintage number, the coin is considered fairly common, and most circulated examples don't carry a high premium. However, the interesting part is where these coins were minted. While the Royal Australian Mint produced many of them, millions were also struck overseas in London and Ottawa. For collectors, distinguishing these coins can be fascinating, as some varieties have minor differences in the strike quality and metal finish. Collectors often search for variations or minting errors from this year, which can sometimes bring much higher value than a normal coin. So, what is the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin worth today? Which means the coin has been used in everyday transactions and shows where it is generally worth just its face value, 50 cents, up to around $1 AUD, such as very fine VF or extremely fine YEF. Collectors may pay between $1 to $3 AUD, where the coin shows no signs of wear. The value increases significantly. These coins can fetch anywhere between $5 to $10 AUD. Depending on the quality of the 1981 coin, specially struck for collectors with a mirror-like finish, can be worth around $15 to $20 AUD, or even more depending on demand. But here's where things get exciting. If you happen to come across an error coin from 1981, such as one with a misstrike, off-center design, or double stamping, the value can jump dramatically. Error coins are highly collectible and can sometimes fetch hundreds of dollars at auction, depending on the rarity and the condition. When assessing the value of your 1981 50-cent coin, condition plays a crucial role. Collectors use a grading scale to evaluate coins. Heavy circulation, significant wear, only worth face value. Moderate wear, major details still visible, worth a little more to collectors. Light wear, most details are sharp, often worth double or triple face value. No wear at all, may have minor bag marks for minting, can fetch several dollars. Specially made for collectors, these coins have a polished, mirror-like surface and are the most valuable regular issues. Collectors often use magnifying glasses to check details such as the Queen's crown, the coat of arms, and the coin's edges to determine the grade. The sharper the detail, the higher the grade, and the more valuable the coin becomes. The 1981 Australian 50-cent coin may not be the rarest or most valuable in circulation, but it holds a special place in numismatic history because of its overseas production and its role in Australia's coinage timeline. For new collectors, it's an affordable and interesting coin to add to a collection, while advanced collectors often look for high-grade or rarer versions. So, next time you come across a 1981 50-cent coin, take a closer look. Who knows? You might just have a rare variety or even an error coin that could be worth much more than 50 cents. To truly understand the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin, we need to explore the broader history of Australia's coinage and the evolution of this unique denomination. The story begins in 1966, when Australia transitioned from the old British-based currency system of pounds, shillings, and pence to a decimal system. This was one of the most significant changes in Australian financial history. The new system introduced the dollar, divided into 100 cents. To support the new currency, a completely new set of coins was released, ranging from the 1 cent to the 50-cent piece. The original 1966 50-cent coin was round and contained 80% silver, 15% copper, and 5% nickel. At the time, it weighed 13.28 grams and had a diameter of 31.5 millimeters. People quickly realized that the silver content alone made the coin worth more than its face value. As the price of silver increased, many of these coins were melted down for their bullion value. This is why today, the 1966 silver 50-cent coin is extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors. To prevent this problem, the Australian government reissued the 50-cent coin in 1969, but with some major changes. Instead of silver, it was now made of copper-nickel, a mixture of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Not only that, but the shape was changed to a distinctive 12-sided polygon dodecagon. This decision served two purposes. 1. It distinguished the coin from the round 20-cent piece, which was often confused with it due to their similar size. 2. It created a coin that was instantly recognizable by both sight and touch. This 12-sided design quickly became iconic and is still in use today. Now let's jump forward to 1981, the year we're focusing on. By this time, Australia's economy was growing rapidly, and the demand for coinage was at an all-time high. The Royal Australian Mint, located in Canberra, was struggling to keep up with the massive production requirements. To solve this problem, Australia made the decision to outsource some of its coin production overseas. This was a very unusual move at the time. The Royal Mint in London and the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa were both enlisted to help strike Australian coins, including the 1981 50-cent piece. This makes 1981 a standout year in the history of Australian currency, as it was one of the few times Australian circulating coins were manufactured outside the country. Because of this, 1981 50-cent coins may show subtle differences depending on which mint produced them. Collectors often look for these tiny variations, such as differences in the sharpness of details, the thickness of the lettering, or slight variations in the strike quality. While these differences are not always obvious to the casual eye, to numismatists, they represent a fascinating chapter of Australia's coinage history. It's also important to note that during the late 1970s and early 1980s, Australia was beginning to experiment with commemorative issues, using the 50-cent coin as a canvas for national pride and celebration. For example, in 1981, Australia released a special Charles and Diana royal wedding 50-cent coin, which was round and quite different from the standard dodecagonal design. This adds another layer of interest to the 1981 year, since there were both standard 50-cent circulation coins and a unique commemorative coin in the same denomination. The standard 1981 50-cent coin, however, continued to showcase the timeless Australian coat of arms, with a kangaroo and emu standing proudly beside the shield. This design was introduced in 1969 and has become a symbol of stability in Australian coinage, reminding people of the unity of the 6 states of the Federation. The broader historical context. The 1981 issue marks a turning point. It was a year when Australia relied on international partners to maintain its coin supply, when new commemorative coins were introduced alongside regular issues, and when the Copper-Nickel 50 cent had already cemented itself as one of the most recognizable coins in circulation. Today, collectors view the 1981 50-cent coin not just as a piece of pocket change, but as a representation of Australia's evolving coinage story. It reflects the challenges of a growing economy, the influence of international mints, and the continued pride in national symbols. The coin itself may be common, but the history behind it is incredibly rich. When it comes to coin collecting, one of the most important factors that determines value is the condition of the coin. The 1981 Australian 50-cent coin is no exception. While millions were minted and most circulated examples are common, the state of preservation can make the difference between a coin worth only its face value and one worth several times more. Collectors around the world use the coin grading scale, often referred to as the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor P1 all the way to mint state MS70. For Australian coins, a similar system is applied, with descriptive terms like good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated. Let's break this down step by step. A coin in this grade is heavily worn down. The details of Queen Elizabeth II's portrait are nearly smooth. The lettering may be faint or missing in areas, and the coat of arms on the reverse side looks flat and lifeless. These coins have seen decades of circulation, passing through countless hands, vending machines, and shop counters. Value. Only face value 50 cents apart from regular circulation strikes. The Royal Australian Mint also issued proof coins in 1981. Proofs are specially made for collectors using polished dies and planchets, giving them a mirror-like finish and frosted details. These coins never circulated and were sold directly to collectors in presentation cases. Proof coins are highly prized today, and a 1981 50-cent proof can be worth $15 to $30 AUD, sometimes higher if still in its original packaging. These are highly collectible, and values vary wildly depending on rarity and demand. A dramatic error on a 1981 50 cent could easily fetch $100 to several $100s at auction. The condition of a coin is more than just its physical state. It's a direct reflection of its journey through time. A heavily circulated 1981 50-cent piece tells the story of decades of Australian life, passing from one generation to another in everyday use. But a pristine, uncirculated piece captures a moment in history, as if it were frozen in 1981, untouched by the hands of time. This is why collectors place such a high value on condition, because it preserves not only the design and detail, but also the history and heritage of the coin itself.